Hey everyone, welcome to GMI Hub Online. You notice the difference in my voice? Because I don't have much of one today. So I'm going to actually quickly pass it over to Dale, who's going to do most of the talking on this show, which we are excited to talk about today, which is about artist managers. Go, Dale.
All right, thank you. I just want to say she's a trooper for being here. It's because of you guys. That's why she's here. So we are so excited about tonight because tonight we are basically going to be helping you guys out with some really cool information. Is get ready to dive into the world of artist management. It's going to be revealing the roles, the relationships, the dynamics, and the expectations. So as we move on, we're going to talk about that. But we just want to let you know about a few things first before we move on. That we are streaming live on our YouTube channel right here, right now. If you're watching, thank you so much. Don't forget to click on the notification bell to see that the next time we upload a video. And also make sure you put that thumbs up for us, and all that stuff's really important. And if during the show, make some comments. I'd love to hear from you. We're going to try and watch that as we go along, and we're going to respond to those. If you have questions, it'd be a great idea to bring them our way. Also, want to let you know about our website, gmihub.ca. Now, gmihub.ca is where you go to basically find out all about what we're doing. We have so many things on there for you to check out. I got some updates I'm going to tell you after I tell you about this. But, on the website, if you go there, you can find a place you can connect with us. And this is really important because we will send out a monthly newsletter called Hub Happening. And you'll get that once a month. And it'll tell you basically what's going on. It'll be a time for you to check in with us. But if you're like a promoter or an artist, or you got something coming up and you want us to know about it, we might even put it in our hub happening if you give us permission to do so. So that'll be something you want to take advantage of. I think it'd be a good idea. Go to gmihub.ca, check it out. Now, as the show goes on, I want to let you know that we're here for the artists, we're for you. But there are people that are partnering with us, and we are partnering with them. Like the GMI Hub is a proud sponsor of Let the Church Sing. And that's coming up, led by Stephen Lewis and friends. It's a live recording involving singing of hymns and choruses where the audience is the main choir. That's right. If you want to be part of that, May 31st, if you got a voice and you want to sing, even if you don't have a voice and you want to sing, as part of that group, just come and join them on May 31st, 7:30 p.m. Put that on your calendar. It's 869 Progress Avenue in Scarborough. And if you are near that area, it's 869 Progress Avenue in Scarborough. And be there around 7:30. It's going to start. It's going to be a night you won't forget. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be there too. So we're looking forward to seeing you. Come and say hello. We got a little table. We're going to say hello to people as they come in. So you say hello to us. That'd be great. Also, let you know about June 3rd. We'll be presenting another live broadcast, something like this. It's called Goal Setting for the Creatives. It's going to be something you don't want to miss. It's going to kind of come next time. It's going to be kind of fun on the 3rd of June. So you don't want to miss that. Allison and Gerald Fleming. They are songwriters and phenomenal at what they do. They do courses in how to do music and write and some. So they're going to have some real important stuff for you to check out.
And they were in our last artist showcase.
Yes, they're at our artist showcase, and there, so you can, if you get a chance to look at one of our videos, the artist showcase, you can see the Infinitely More is the name of the group. Infinitely More were there, and they did a great set, and you can hear what their music is like, and you will love to come and check out what they have to say. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be right here at this location, 3434 Cothra Road in Mississauga, at 7 p.m. That's right, 3434 Cothra Road in Mississauga. Okay, that's where I am right now. Okay, now, I'm really excited about this one last thing, and then I'm going to just move on. We've got Hub Fest. It's coming on Canada Day, July 1st, and you're invited. Guys, bring your friends, bring your family, bring everybody, bring your dog. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have a live event from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night. We've got so many amazing artists. We've got Reto, Adrian Prince. We've got Andrew Martin, Kevin Adams in the Voice of Praise. We've got Eighth Line, the Torchmen. People, if you haven't heard this group, you got to come out, check out these people. It's going to be amazing, and I want to thank for those people who are participating in the event, partnering with us to make this happen. It's going to be an incredible day, and I've been talking really, really fast, and that's okay because I got to get all crammed in before we start. So I wanted to introduce our panelists, if I could. All right, so let's get ready. We're going to first talk to someone right next to me, Dave Click Coxon. He's from CLK Creative Works. And also, we're going to talk to Darren Anderson, and he's from Be Loud Artist Agency. So those are two people we're going to be speaking to today. So first, let's go to Dave. Dave Click Cox. How are you?
How are you?
Good. You're an artist, manager, a music business instructor, a consultant. You've been 25 years in the music industry business, including works with Universal Music as an A&R representative, working
Mhm.
with contract negotiations, and that is pretty incredible. That must have been you must have seen a lot of
Yeah, I've
stuff.
seen a lot.
Yeah. So there's a wealth of information here, guys. So stick around. And later we're going to be talking to Darren Anderson. Darren Anderson is also an artist manager, but he founded Be Loud Artist Agency and Be Loud Productions, and which is Christian-centered production company, booking agency, booking concerts and events. And he has a couple of artists which he also works with in the promotion side of things, which is really cool. And so that's beloudagency.com. Right, so there's lots of stuff we can check out about him. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, maybe let's open the floor to both of you because I mean that'd be the best way to get us started, right? The background to get you started in what you're doing right now, like to being in an artist management. What was the catalyst or the reason you thought to yourself, maybe this is something I should do? Let me start with Dave.
I mean, for myself, I guess it had a lot to do with being, when you get into music, you're either a musician or you're not a musician, or and for me, I definitely was, in a rap group in the, I guess, early '90s, late '80s, and so um, through that, I kind of realized like what my strengths were, and I realized, okay, I'm kind of the people person.
Mm,
I'm the person that has no problem rubbing elbows and shaking hands,
right.
and everybody needs to have that if you're inspiring artist.
Mm,
You have to have somebody who's part of your team who's willing to shake those elbows
right.
and,
Yeah.
and rub those hands.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
I switched that around, as you can see, but
Right.
I think that was really it for me in terms of, like, I guess why I kind of aligned with the business side. It's just it was a calling and opportunities arise, and that's basically how
Mm.
I delved into that world
So you found it
of
was
the
kind of something you
business.
were doing with your own stuff, maybe
Well,
perhaps, and
like
it
I
was
said, when
yeah.
you're in a group, somebody has to make the phone
Mm,
calls and negotiate and chase down opportunities
right.
and things of that nature. And in the group, usually, there's only particular people that want to take on those tasks. But I wanted to do those tasks. I
Right.
was
Yeah.
interested in that. I also was always inspired to want to work at a record company. I think the business side always kind of
Hmm.
I was appealed to that,
Hmm.
and then just, I guess, later on, aligning with, do I want to be an entrepreneur? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what that looks like, and how to pursue that, you know?
Cool. Darren, how did you get started?
I started in high school. So I was just taking to classes, the high school marketing program, and had the music. I was always into music, couldn't sing, could not play. And so a buddy of mine and I just started promoting concerts. And so I've been doing that for 34 years. Um, but I had this band that would come to my concerts and would buy front row tickets and me to be their manager or their agent. At that time, I had real no interest in that. I loved being a concert promoter, but after they do this like 10 shows in a row, you start listening. And so began to work with them. And over the years, of course, those artists would change, but really it was their tenacity and seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself that started everything. So I was just a young dude who loved putting on shows, and still do, still love
Mhm.
putting on shows, even though I'm in doing the management and booking stuff now. So the B Lot agency itself started about 10 years ago. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary with a big concert. But when I had Katie Kennard come and do a concert at my church in Illinois, and just she left, and the Lord tapped on my shoulder and said, I want you to start doing her booking. And so now I've been doing that for 10 years, a little over 10 years. And then Allie came on a couple of years ago, Allie Crummy from Des Moines, Iowa. So that's the short story, condensed story.
Cool. Well, that's great. So generally, we're looking at some of the qualities that maybe an artist manager needs to have. Perhaps let's talk a bit about that. Maybe what is if you can't think of one, or maybe just a few most important things from when you think from an artist manager point of view, you need to be thinking about and considering?
I would say like a lot of it comes down to, the first of all, it's not that easy because there are different types of managers.
Mm.
So when you ask that question, the first thing that comes to mind, it differs because certain managers have different qualities than other managers. He comes from a background of doing concerts, so maybe as a manager, that's what his specialty is. He knows how to keep a band on the road. He
Hmm.
knows how to book them in a room. He knows how to handle that stuff.
Yeah, do the hotels, the
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
I could do that. I like that, but it's not actually what I love doing in management. I'm more of a marketer and I'm more of that type of person and a strategist.
Mm.
And I love that type of approach of helping artists with their creative process, right?
Mm.
Um, so I think as a manager, skill sets are obviously they have to be a go getter,
Mm.
no matter what hat we're wearing, no matter who we are.
Right.
You have to be kind of a self-sufficient initiative starter.
So it's all about the hustle.
Well, yeah, it's all about the hustle. I mean, whoever the artist you're working with, you need to make sure that you understand, what their market is and help them achieve the goals that they
Mm.
have set for themselves. And also, challenge them at times. I think um, sometimes it also depends on the artist you're working with because there's many different types of artists. The same way there's different types of managers.
Mm.
There's
Mm.
artists that are self starters themselves.
Right.
I look at it as I've met kind of like artists that are like really, really business savvy, and I've met artists that are not business savvy at
Mm.
all.
Right.
They're like creative. And the process to manage them is actually very different for one another because obviously one might not have a clue of like what it means to hold on to receipts or like bookkeeping or
Right. Yeah.
any
Yeah.
of those type of
Administrative
necessities.
type
Or
stuff. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
they
It's
just want to
yeah.
show up at the show and
Yeah.
do the thing and go to the studio, make a record, but
Right.
don't want to handle thinking about how to create a budget,
Right. Yeah.
which is another a big part of being a manager is
Yeah.
having your finger on the pulse of the money,
Mm.
more than just like getting the money, but also like making sure that the artist is getting their money and
Hmm.
everybody else in between. But financial literacy is definitely a part of that.
Well, so it
you
sounds like an
know
accountant type stuff. You gotta
well,
have that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's part of it,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's also it's also understanding the team, like understanding the knowledge of the business and understanding who are all the
Hmm.
players.
Hmm.
So amongst a team with an artist, you have lawyers, you can have agents, you can have even like you might have a creative team, like be like
Right.
videographers, graphic designers, all these people that actually sometimes you might hire some of them externally, but um and then the other element is like a business manager. So when an artist gets to a certain plateau,
Hmm.
that's usually when I would bring a business manager into the mix to
Uh,
handle their accounting and handle those things.
right. Right.
But usually when they're just starting off, there's not enough money to make it worthwhile to
Right. Right.
actually
Right.
bring a business manager into the mix.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I hope that answered your
That
question.
no, that's cool because I mean, it makes me understand what is considered to be something that maybe somebody isn't thinking about. Like there's somebody out there who's thinking, oh, you know what, that's true. That's something I need to consider. How about you, Darren?
I think discernment's a big part of the process because I think you end up in situations. A lot of times you really need to be able to discern, the decisions that need to be made.
Mm.
I think it's really important that you, at least for me, it's really important to be a fan first and an agent second. There are way more no's than there are yeses in the music industry, and so if I'm not a fan their music before I'm their agent, it's really easy to give up, right? It's really easy to not. So for me, the process looks a lot like, am I really love these artists, like these people that I'm working for? Do I love them? Do I really believe in them? Do I believe in what they're doing? And do I have the tenacity to handle the no's? You just have to be able to handle a lot of no's. I think discernment's a big part of it. Um, I think like David said, you have to be a go-getter, and I think you also, um, have to be willing to ask, right? You'll get times where you'll be asking for something from somebody, or you'll be trying to bring somebody into the team, and sometimes it's easy to hesitate for some people and say, well, I don't know if the person's gonna say yes or no. You know what? Yeah, they may say no, but you got to do the ask, right? And you got to be willing to ask. So there has to be just a willingness to really fight for those artists and to ask, to do the ask and to accept the no's and to move. And there's just a tenacity that has to be there to not give up, because it's really easy to give up sometimes. And I think too, you have to be able to trust people. If you can't trust the artists that you're working for, like I trust Allie and Katie. I work really hard to sign artists that I know I can trust, um, because that trust factor between all parties involved is a really key to me being able to do my job when I can't necessarily get a hold of them, right? Or I can't get a text back real quick and a decision has to be made. So I think it's really, really crucial that all of those are kind of part of who you are as a person, right?
Yeah, I think you touched on something that I think is really close to every musician, every artist's heart is, can I find somebody I can trust? You're looking for a manager who's got your back. So when situations arise that you as an artist maybe don't need to know about, the manager's covering it and saying, I got you. And you can trust as an artist that your manager is going to do what's best for you and your relationship with them. So that's, I think,
And that trust goes both
no,
ways.
you're absolutely
Like
right. I agree. I
I don't
agree.
just take on any artist without trusting them,
Yeah, that's what he
you
was saying. The
know.
same thing.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's a big thing. Like I usually won't just jump on and want to manage an artist just because I'm excited about
Hmm.
their music or excited about what they have going on.
Right.
I kind of I you know managers and artists are relationships,
Hmm. Do you hear
just
that? Do you hear that,
just
guys? This is really
just
important.
just
This is good
like
stuff.
a wedding. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just like a relationship between two people that want to be, married.
Mm.
It's very similar because this is somebody that they're gonna let you know about when things are down in
Mm.
their lives, and
Hmm.
they're like that are outside of their music that reflect the decisions that need to be made
Yeah.
in their career.
Yeah.
And just getting to know one another in and out of just music is an important element. And so there's a level of communication and honesty and trust that needs to be built.
Wow.
And you can't build, like, would you marry, your partner after meeting them the first day?
Mm. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Only on the crazy
Yeah.
wedding shop.
Be
Do you
an
know what I mean?
arranged marriage, but
I mean, I definitely fell in love with my wife when I first met her, but
Mm.
like, it took getting to know them and
Sure.
deciding like, hey, is this my right partner? Is this my soul partner for life? You know what I mean? And it has been. But like, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to managing artists, it's the same mentality for me because I'm not there to wing it.
Right. That
Like I
makes
actually
sense.
want to
Yeah.
be there. I want this to be a successful journey.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I got to do the courtship to get there.
And that leads to this question coming up. This is so interesting when you're trying to find someone to represent as a manager. Those kind of things. What are the things that make you court, as it were, this person to this relationship?
Mhm.
What kind of things are you looking for? You listening? Check it out.
Yep,
um, you want to start?
You get Darren?
Yeah, go ahead, Darren.
sure. Yeah, I'll start. I think uh, the one thing I'm looking for is I'm looking for artists that do have an understanding of their own vision and calling. I can help them get there. I can do a lot to help them, but that vision and that mission is coming along with the music that they're writing and the things that they're already doing. And I'm not here I'm here to get them where they want to go. I'm here to be part of that on ramp that they want to be on to get on that freeway, but I can't be the one. Like, it's got to come out of them, and so I've got to look at that vision and that mission. I've got to feel like I'm a part of that, and I got to feel like they know it. um I think, and they know themselves well, and they know what they're doing well. I can help with some of that process, but really at the end of the day, I'm not with them every day of the week, right? And so I need to know that they know who they are and why they're doing what they're doing, and I look for that. Um, obviously, I look at the songwriting and I look at the music, and some of those things can be worked on. A lot of those things can be worked in, but that vision and that mission has to be really clear to the hearts. I look for how they love people. Um, for me, especially because I'm the type of manager that loves the road and loves having my own side and being part of that process. It's really, I guess, super important to me that that they can love people on stage and off stage, and that what they're singing matches who they are as a person. It's so incredibly important that they're able to love people on and off stage, and so that's a big thing for me. I no attitudes, like no
Mm, yeah.
no cockiness, no that stuff's really important to me because they're representing the kingdom of God, right? And they represent me and my company too. So when they're working with the promoters and the venues and the churches and they're rolling into towns and doing this thing like they're not just carrying their music and their vision. They're carrying the kingdom of God with them, and they're carrying my name, my company with them. And so I have to look at all of that when I'm selecting an artist because it's so crucial and key that they're able to love people and that they have a clear understanding of their vision and mission, and that their music and their what they're writing is matching all of that. It all kind of has to come together for me.
Absolutely, and it's something that I think that we've been talking about for many, many months about authenticity when it
Mm.
comes to artists, and I think all that stuff that you're talking about really is speaking to the authenticity of the individual, and that the same person often on stage and the passions are aligning with you. That's really well done.
Yeah, I agree with that one, like 1000%.
Mm.
And it's interesting because especially where I am now, I don't manage artists as much as I used to anymore. I do a lot more consulting. And I feel like I probably ended up doing a lot of that because I spend so much time developing artists that are still trying to figure out what their voice is. And I'm really
Mm.
good at that. Like,
That's
I
cool.
know how to help artists align with their true selves by asking the right questions,
Mm.
by guiding them on what their goals and their visions are and how to figure that out for themselves properly,
Yeah.
and asking the questions of like to kind of get their truths or to get them to speak their truths, because sometimes a lot of artists do what they think feels good or what they think other people feel good,
Right. Yeah.
right? And so there's that element of like trying to help them on their journey. And in the early stages of an artist's career, there's not a lot of money there to do that.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
easier to consult. And some managers would rather not do that. Like he was like, you know what, I kind of just want to be involved when I see that they got their act together, right? Where me, I feel like I can help out early in that stage. Um, and if I was getting involved as a manager, I think a lot of it has to do with the things you're looking for come down to like, do they have their act together in many, many different ways?
Hmm.
Not just from a standpoint of
Performance or whatever. Yeah.
performance,
Yeah.
songs,
Yeah. Right.
substance, all those type of things, but also like their wheelhouse, their business wheelhouse. Like, do they have you know a knowledge, a foundation
Hmm.
to go off of? Because if they don't, then you're spending a lot of your time to catch up and try to lead them on that, and that becomes like more
Hmm.
development things, right? So
Yeah.
um I believe there's three different stages of managers. You have an A-list manager, a B-list manager, and a C-list manager. A-list managers are the ones that have like arena acts. They're the ones that have household names that keep them busy 24/7. They most likely have a whole staff of individuals that work for them, because that big acts that pay the bills and keep the money flowing, you can't do that by yourself.
No. True.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you have and when you have a staff like that, you can actually have people that kind of handle the small minutia stuff that we're talking about,
Yeah.
but also handle like the big stuff that needs to be handled.
Yeah.
The B level is more of an individual who might be well connected, but doesn't have like the big acts on the roster. but they have all the means to, like, open up the doors, and probably are making some leeway with like emerging, about to bust type of artists. And they're the ones that sometimes get messed, like, get the bad end of the stick, because
Mm-hmm.
a big manager might come in and swoop their act away from them
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
got the name value or something. But and then the C level is probably somebody that's really doesn't have any skin in the game. They might be green, but they might have more hustle than everybody else I just said. They might have more hustle than the B. They might have more hustle than the A. I look at them as speedboats. Everybody else is kind of like they got the big trucks or the big, cruise ships, because they got all the wheels and everything happening, and but the speedboats can be that, young firecracker who really believes in the artist, and might be able to like chase down things and ask all the right questions, and
Mm-hmm.
can make a difference for that artist. So all three of those are great alignments you can align with as an artist.
Right,
I don't believe one is better than the other.
right. Because
They
they
all
all
have
have
pros and cons.
exactly. They all have purposes, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to get into something about the practical side of what you guys do in just a little minute. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about what's going on with the GMI Hub. GMI Hub is proud to announce to be a sponsor, part of Let the Church Sing. It's coming up. And it's led by Stephen Lewis and friends. It's a live recording involving singing and hymns and choruses, and the audience is the main choir. That's right. So they want you to join them in May 31st to come and be a part of this congregation that's going to sing these awesome hymns together. 7:30 p.m. at Progress Avenue in Scarborough. It's 869 Progress Avenue. It's going to be doors open at 7:30. Come on in. Actually, it starts at 7:30, so probably door will be open by 7 o'clock. You come on in and be a part of the congregation. They're going to sing some hymns, do some choruses, and it's all going to be recorded. And you want to be a part of that? Go ahead and go to stephenlewis.ca/events. Okay, so stephenlewis.ca/events. Be a part of that. We're going to be there. We're going to hopefully get a chance to talk to you. So you come and see me. That'd be great. On June the 3rd, we will be presenting another live studio broadcast just like this, only it's going to be a little different. We're going to talk about the goals and settings for the creatives. So if you're one of those people that are really creative, you may want to check this out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Allison and Gerald Fleming are actually artists that we on one of our showcases we put on a few weeks ago. I was going to say months, but it's not. But anyway, so they are actually great songwriters themselves. Gerald is renowned music songwriter. So you should check out the amazing opportunity you got to do this when we're going to come check out what's happening with the group they call is Infinitely More. So it's something you really want to find out more about them. Go to Infinitely More, search it on Google, and find out more about them. It starts at 7 o'clock as we did tonight, and it's going to be right here. 34 Cawthras Road here in Mississauga. We have an audience capacity, so you guys come hang out with us and get a chance to see. Yeah, the audience to say, hey, what So it's going to be great to have you here. Also, something that I'm really excited about is on Canada Day on July 1st. It's from 1 o'clock p.m. till 10 o'clock at night. We're going to have HubFest. And HubFest is a live event that we've put together that you don't want to miss. We've got a whole array of artists, and let me just name a few. We got Andrew Martin, Kevin Adams and the Vocal Praise Band. We got Eighth Line. We've got the Torchman, and many more. And we want you to be a part of this event. It's happening on Canada Day. It's going to be an event held at 34 Cawthras Road, right here in the parking lot or at the back field. We've got a big field here that faces onto Cawthra Road, and you're invited. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have so much fun. There's going to be a bouncy castle. There's going to be food trucks. I'm going to be there. What other reason do you need? Okay, so all right, so we want to thank all our partnerships for making this happen. This really, really, really means a lot. Now let's get into some of the things you guys doing as strategies. Talking about your week, what your typical week would look like, the day in the life of, but let's say it's a week in the life of what kind of things happen for you on a day-to-day basis. So let's try to think about maybe what's happened, not generally, but basically throughout the scope of your career. What have you been doing from week to week?
It depends on the artist. I mean, some artists are recording, some artists are touring, some artists are getting ready to tour, some artists are signed to labels. So depending on what's on the roster, every week differs.
Hmm.
So a lot of the time it's focusing on like what's coming down the pipeline, not necessarily if you're dealing with what's happening right now, it's because probably a flag has happened. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
if I had an artist touring seas and let's say something happened at a gig, maybe that there was a discretion on a fee amount, for example. I might be contacted and be like, "Hey, they're saying it's not this, but it's that." And then
Hmm.
it's like trying to rescue the day.
Yeah.
Uh, I've been in scenarios where I've had artists touring Japan and got stuck at the border and missed the show, and promoters calling me at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting me out of bed saying what's going on. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like these things happen, and so these are the type of things as a manager you're managing the
Mm.
day to day and the things that are happening with an artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's not that, then you're strategizing with the team, be it a label or be it you've hired other people, be it like a publicist or an agent or whoever you have as part of the team. You're constantly on them adding fuel to the fire
Hmm. Hmm.
or trying to get that fire
Right.
started.
Or trying to put the fire out. I mean, that all depends on the
Well,
scenario.
I don't like to try to think about turning out fires because I'd rather like keep the fire going.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, yes, that sometimes happens. You
Yes,
know
I
what I
hear
mean?
that. Yeah. Yeah. So, as an artist manager, that's kind of like you're talking about just challenges that you meet and how you deal with them, and that's a lot to do with that as well. And so, that's where the trust comes in, right? We talked about that earlier. The artist and the manager
Well,
trusting each other.
yeah, trust and like even trust in like the guidance that you're giving them. Like that's the hardest thing is gaining the trust. Is in like we were saying earlier, part of that is like it doesn't happen just right away.
Hmm.
You have to kind of like you know um, earn the trust.
Mm.
And sometimes that has to do with like, well, trust me with this. Let me throw you this,
Right.
and they throw you that. And if it makes sense and it turns into magic, you're like, hey, maybe this is working.
Right.
Like that's how I feel like some of my scenarios of people I've worked with is because we threw each other bones, I guess you could say, and see what happened out of it. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, um, you know, yeah, bones, not grenades. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, throwing opportunities, throwing ideas, throwing strategies. I was on a meeting call today with somebody. We're talking about taking, some managers and some artists to the States for some festivals and showcases and things of that nature. And I think about the managers that are in the seats with these opportunities that come to them and the work they have to do to get their artists ready for that.
Mm.
It's like sitting down with an artist, 6 to 12 months out of these type of opportunities and saying, listen, this is what we want to do in like 6, 10 months from now. But to be able to do that, we have to have all these things in order.
Right. Get your ducks in the row, kind of thing.
It's
Yeah.
getting,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
the day to day of a manager is
Right.
getting the ducks in order.
Right. Yeah. 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 So Darren, let's take me through a week of what you might go through typically.
You know, lots of emails, lots of phone calls,
Mhm.
lots of digging, lots of researching, especially because the artists that I have are independent. So finding venues and churches and opportunities that cater to, encourage, support independent artists is a big thing. It's not something that necessarily just happens. Like if I send an email to a church that's hosting David Crowder, the chances of them being overly interested in Allie or Katie, maybe, right? But what I want to do is be looking for those promoters and churches who are hosting artists of their genre, who are hosting independent artists, and those are the ones. So that I want to reach out to. So there's a lot of research into that. There's a lot of sitting down and figuring out, looking at maps. There's a lot of asking. What's in a lot of it again is like David said, it's you're looking 6, 8, 10 months out. We'll start in a couple weeks working on 2025. While still doing some stuff with 2024, but there reaches a point where you have to look and say, okay, this is what we've got. now we need to move to the next season, right? And so there's you're always looking ahead and thinking ahead. For me, there's always prayer for my artists that happens, which sounds like kind of a funny thing, but I spend a lot of time praying for them and a lot of time praying for their families. Um, but a lot of it is emails and phone calls and research and finding out, what's working and what's not working, which can change daily, if not hourly, sometimes in the music industry. And so
Yeah.
it's so a lot of reading and a lot of studying, at least for me, goes into my week, and learning and watching and learning. I listen to my artists' music just because I just want to capture more of that. Like I want to capture more of of what they're about, and I want to be able to keep that in front of me all the time. So I'm listening to their music, which I've heard a million times, but it sits with me different in different ways. So I do while I'm doing a lot of those other emails and phone calls, want to be listening to them from and just really crafting that and looking at and throwing visions out there. So um, a lot of it is just exploring ideas, and some of those ideas, a lot of those ideas don't work out at all. And you got to go back to the drawing board, but the only way to keep going back to the drawing board is to have one. And the way you have one is to continually be looking and researching and thinking, and looking ahead at options and opportunities and asking.
Mhm. So that makes me think that you must also be kind of updating yourself on industry trends and trying to stay current with what's happening, or is that not
Yeah,
important?
yeah, I would say I do, but it feels almost like normal to me, like drinking water. Like that's just like I always have email trend. Like I'm looking at billboard articles.
Right, right.
I'm that's like it's become a muscle memory
Right.
for me
Gotcha.
what
Yeah,
I
right.
do there. I'm not consumed. I'm not like running away trying to understand things unless it's I've
Yep.
never seen this before or something like that. That might be a little different, but I think that a lot of my time when I think about it is really strategizing and motivating
Mm, mm.
more than like trying to educate myself. Like if I'm educated, I've been in the business for over 30 years, so
Mm.
like it's
But it's in
it's
your
like
wheelhouse already, so it's not like
yeah,
yeah, it's not something
yeah,
you have to.
yeah. I feel like
Yeah,
I've
I get
done a
that.
lot of that educating already, but
Right. Yeah.
I think it's more like when you hear about new technologies coming into play, like TikTok or AI or things like
Mm.
that. You want to understand the
Yeah.
means and how that's going to affect your artist, and what are the benefits and what are the downside of things.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, the AI one's a big problem for me. But anyways,
Oh, really?
well, it's just
I don't think so.
well, some people look at it as just as another platform that somebody else can utilize. But
This is the same thing that's happened with CDs, cassette
I know this is
tapes.
the thing when Napster first came out and all that. Yeah,
Everything
yeah,
when the
yeah,
iPod came out, when
yeah,
streaming Apple came out, everybody always had some sort of problem with the
yeah, yeah,
industry.
yeah.
The industry will figure out how it works. We will get accustomed to something, and then it will just be what it is.
It'll
That's just the
rebalance.
nature
Yeah,
of the beast.
it's true. I have to agree with you. Anything you want to add to that, Darren?
No, I mean, I think it's just, I think I think sometimes we have to be careful, right? We do have to study, we do have to learn as
Hmm.
artists, managers and agents and all that. We do need to learn those things. But at the end of the day, like I need to know my artist well enough that I'm not jumping down every trend or jumping down every side road that comes my way because
That
some of
makes
those
sense.
simply don't apply to my artists and I need to know them well enough to not
Hmm.
jump down them because you can go on bunny trails for hours and days
Right,
and weeks and months and not get anywhere.
right.
And so I think it is partially, like David saying, knowing that artist and developing that trust, which is an everyday thing, and you learn from every conversation, every show, every writing session they do. You learn from all of those things about that artist, like just by
Hmm.
being aware and listening, you learn from all of that. But
You don't want to
you
get
know,
stuck in
you
that
just
rabbit
can't
hole
jump
either.
down every
Yeah,
bunny trail.
yeah.
Yeah,
You don't. Yeah,
because
exactly.
that rabbit hole is like our time is precious.
Yeah.
It's all like one
Mhm.
thing I learned in life is like how do you take your time and make it more efficient for yourself? So if I waste all my and it's not about wasting, but if I spend more time trying to figure out something, I'd rather find who are the individuals or experts at that I can rely on them. That's what a lawyer's for. If it's a publishing issue, then I talk to my publisher. Like there's different things and different people that I align with that are specialists in those areas, and I rely on them instead of me carrying the weight.
Mm. Okay, I was just thinking about taking a step back and let's recalibrate for a second. If it was an artist who is up and coming, maybe okay, it goes back to what you were talking about artist development, and then
Mhm.
maybe this is more for David than it is for Darren. But if if there's an opportunity for artist development in advice to somebody who's watching right now and they're aspiring to maybe think about getting a manager, what did they have to consider in what they're doing in order to make that a reality?
put the put yourself in the manager's shoes.
Okay.
So you've just sat here and heard us talk about some things that a manager does, and what expectations they have on themselves to deliver for somebody. So for them to be able to do those things, you have to think about what, as an artist, do I have to have in place to make it worthwhile for a manager to actually step
Mm-hmm.
in. And that's not always the case. Don't get it twisted. There are some scenarios where somebody has a raw talent that somebody's super excited about
Yeah.
and says, "Hey, I want to jump on board." You know, um, but in today's world where there's so many artists that are active and so many artists that are doing amazing things on their own terms, that's what you're competing actually with,
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of artists that are already at a certain caliber and at a certain level. And so managers are weighing, okay, well, what am I putting my efforts towards here right now,
Hmm.
so I think as an artist, the best thing you can do is start building your own house.
Yeah, yeah.
Start building your own house and make sure that that house is the house that you want to have an experience that is all your own, that you can invite people to.
Hmm.
And the idea is that, maybe there's a manager you met or manager that you want in your life that you're like, yo, I'm ready for you to come to my house now because I
Hmm.
got something I've built and
Hmm.
a lot of people are coming to see it and it's worth your attention span. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's part of it. Again, I don't want to, rest all that on like you have to have a certain level of like interest and appeal and numbers and all that is. But like I think at the end of the day, it really put yourself in the idea like how am I make myself a value
Hmm.
to somebody. And there's that term, you're nothing to manage if you have nothing to like you're nothing if you have nothing to manage. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
Like
right.
an
What you
art
mean?
a manager has to have something to manage. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So if you have something, the other thing is I kind of believe in this whole I believe in like energy and attracting what you want and not chasing what you want. So like I think if you sit around saying, "Oh, I need a manager, I need an agent, and I need this and I need that," it doesn't really naturally universally come to you. You have to almost wish like work these things into existence because they will actually show up at your door because you've put the work and the time and
Mm.
the good
Hmm. Yeah, I
energy
see what you mean.
into it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
um
Doesn't
eh,
expect it just
eh,
to fall in your lap. You want to
right.
actually,
and
yeah, yeah.
and it's actually, I've seen this even in like working projects with artists,
Mm.
like not, I'd say the majority of the time the opportunities that come up for artists didn't come from the plan that they had mapped out. So their plan might have been like, okay, hey, we're going to buy these ads. Let's say we're going to get an influencer and get them to play their music in this video, and it's going to help go viral. And you thought that all that money you put in that plan was going to make it happen, but what ended up happening is it was another influencer that saw that influencer, and that influencer is the one that got all the hype. Do you know what I mean? And you
Yeah,
never
yeah.
would have known that.
Right.
Like it wasn't your plan, but you put the intentions and the energy out there for it to go a certain direction.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as that's the plan, then and if it's met right and you have all the goods, it should manifest itself in some shape or another in some way.
Right.
As long as you don't it's like that scare money, make no money. It's like, if you think you have no money, if you if you believe in the negativity, you will attract negativity.
Mm. Mm.
you
Yeah.
know that's how I've witnessed that for
Mm.
myself, especially when I decided to go out and start my own business. and start a management company.
Yeah.
When I was used to a check every 2 weeks. you know,
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
to literally take a step back and be like, no, I have to have faith here.
Right.
I have to really believe that like I am going the right direction for myself
Mm-hmm.
and put all the right things in place. But that also came down to making sure that I have the right people in my
Yeah.
corner and I surround myself with the right people.
I think that's actually a really good point for all musicians and artists out there. Listen to this. Surround yourself with people, the place you want to be, where you want to go. Those people will help you get there. Right.
100.
So,
And
yeah.
since we're here talking about this, this is interesting. I would love to bring an idea up right now. You know, talking to a friend of mine who happens to be here in the audience right now.
Yeah.
The idea of doing gospel music
Mm-hmm.
and it being accepted or, accepted
Mm-hmm.
in like non-secular, like in other genres of music,
Yeah.
and getting into those worlds. And I sometimes think it's a clash because those people they're not open to that. Like, you might want to gain that audience because you think you could change, maybe make the difference in somebody's life or
Mm-hmm.
inspire them in a different way or get them, and you can. But I do think it's a challenge sometimes because of where people are at.
Yeah.
And there is I think that as long as you know that you're on the right path for yourself and this is what you want to do, the right people will attach themselves
They
to
attracted to that, right?
that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I know
That
you say it. There's a
attraction thing.
polarity thing. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think that's a really important thing to understand as an artist, when you want to take your message
Mm.
to those other spaces, because it could be very frustrating walking into those spaces who want to judge you.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit of a challenge, I think, for some artists who don't fit into a certain culture necessarily, and
That's a
they
good way of saying it.
and they want to bring authenticity, as we talked about earlier,
Mhm.
authenticity into what they're doing, and it may not be accepted or received as well, open-armed and open-minded. So I understand that. Um, Darren, you probably experienced that in a church context, bringing an artist in that might not sit well
Mm.
in certain genres, certain cultures. So,
Like
what
bringing somebody who's not necessarily like making gospel music into the church.
there's not a typical stereotypical gospel sound.
Okay.
Maybe they're more of,
Different beats.
how would you say it? They're too godly for the secular, but they're too secular for the godly.
Oh wow.
You know,
Okay.
and I hear that so much.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. There's so many artists out there that are just trying. They just not fit in the church. It just isn't. It's not. They don't have the square peg round hole, and it's just hard for them to keep doing what they do because the church is kind of like, that's not my kind of thing. You know.
That kind of happens actually in the blues world.
Probably. Yeah.
Because there's people that want to believe that only a certain style of
Yeah,
blues
yeah.
is a certain style of
Yeah,
blues
yeah.
and aren't allowing the music to actually grow
Yeah.
and expand.
True.
If you know who Gary Clark Jr. is,
No.
famous guitar player,
Hmm.
amazing guitar player. I remember sitting talking to him one day about blues festivals, and I was like, "Oh, have you played this blues festival? You played that blues festival?" He's like, "No, there's too many blues police." That was he's like,
Ha!
too many blues police.
Blues
He's like, they all want to dictate to me
What
what my
blues,
blues
yeah,
is, but
yeah.
I'm the blues. You know what I mean? He's like,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's why we like Hubfest.
That's why we like Hubfest. Hubfest is a mix mash of different artists that you wouldn't. It's like, let me just run through some of the artists because I think it's pretty cool.
They
We've
do
got
different genres of
all different
gospel
genres. We got
or-
Rayto, who's a hip hop artist. We got Adrian Price, hip hop as well. Andrew Martin, who's a jazz big crooner. He's really cool. Kevin Adams and the Voice of Praise are like a gospel, high energy, real choir kind of gospel choirs. They got 19 voices. It's
Okay.
really cool.
19 voices.
Yes.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Like
Wow.
7 max.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I was 19 people in the band. Sorry. That's right. Yeah, sorry. Okay, and then I'm sorry, guys. I messed up. The Eighth Line, which is kind of a rock out, kind of
Think of
a retro kind of rock band,
Jagger.
kind of like the Rolling
Okay,
Stones feel
okay,
to them.
okay.
And then we got the Torchmen, which is a quartet, and they are so solid.
Okay.
been around for decades. So I mean, it's a wide spectrum of all these different. And that's because we believe gospel music is about the good news, not the style.
Got you. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's all about being yourself. And I think it's all about being real about who you are. I don't think it's necessarily about trying to pigeonhole yourself in one genre or another anywhere. It's more about being a follower of Jesus and being true to who God has called you to be and walking through the doors that are open for you. Not necessarily attempting or trying to be this or that or to be more
Hmm.
like the church scene or more like the secular scene. It's more about being you and being who Jesus has made you to be,
Yeah.
and then like like he said, just grabbing onto the people that are naturally going to gravitate to you because you're yourself, which isn't going to be everybody, by the way. But
Mm.
I think we can, these walls can fall down around us. I think sometimes in these genres when we're truly true to who we are and we're true to whatever style of music we play and we work hard at it, I think that walls and doors can come down, and I think that both can be embraced. But I think it really is just being yourself and knowing that well enough and to be able to be that person.
Yeah. Well, I have to be very conscious of our time, guys. I have a couple of questions, and I know it's probably going to go over time. Bear with us for a guy. This is really important. Share some of your successful strategies, if you could, about something you've done in a campaign you're involved with that was really successful. That's something you thought that I want to try and continue to do that type of thing every time, or if it's applicable to this particular client.
I'm thinking.
Something that's like a strategy that you have implemented that was thinking, oh, you know what, that's good that I did that. I'm gonna keep that as something I want to keep doing or lean on whenever it
For
comes.
me, it's trying to match artists to venues. It's really important for me to be researching artists of, of genres and what's working for them in the places that they're going and the places that they're singing and performing and being involved in, and then making sure that I'm spending less time, just throwing things out there and being um, more committed to doing things um, the right way in terms of knowing, where we're going and where we're heading and being specific to that. I don't mind throwing out hoping things work, but I think being more specific and knowing my artists and knowing where they're best at and walking in that lane is something that I really want to be careful with.
Hmm. Hmm.
Are there a lot of venues out there in Michigan for artists? Yes.
Sorry.
Are there a lot of venues for
What kind of
artists?
venues do you working with there in Michigan? You're in Michigan, so what kind of venues are you talking about? Lots of venues, or are you limited in your venues back you out there?
Um, we work with churches, we do coffee houses. Allie does breweries and bars and things like that, which she does mostly does that herself. So most of my work is in churches, coffee houses, more the Christian venue side of things. Mainly because as a pastor, it's easy for me to talk to other pastors, you know what I mean? So most there are lots of opportunities. Artists travel across the nation. One lives in Nashville, one lives in Des Moines, Iowa. So my artists don't even live in Michigan. So I work really across the United States and all over. But
Yeah, but I like what you said earlier, Darren, about knowing your demographic. I know you didn't use those words, but I think that's I think a very, very important thing for you when you're placing an artist in a venue, to know that if they're the closer or if they're the opener or whatever, even the event, maybe something that's unrelated to music and never come in as a highlight, you got to consider that demographic. You know what who the audience is, and that makes a lot of sense. Uh,
I guess for me, I was going through my head of all the different things I've done. I'm thinking, okay, what's a good one to
Are you gonna
share?
say Rolodex? Because that's where we're the old team. We
I
know
was, but like just
that.
going through my hard drive,
Yeah. Okay. Hard drive. That sounds
and
good.
I think like I guess go into more of a marketing idea and just sharing. I want to encourage people, especially in the gospel world, just to think outside the box when it comes to marketing themselves. And like, yes, I think it's so easy just to go to, the hubs that exist in the gospel world that
Uh-huh.
are accepting. But I think if you really want to make a bigger imprint or a bigger appeal, you have to think about how can I like package this or deliver
Mm.
this in a way that's going to cut through in a different way. An example is artists I work with had done recordings that she had recorded on her phone
Mm.
with her and a guitar player. And when I heard them and we played them for other friends, they thought it was recordings from the early 90s
Mm.
and like from the blues era. They were
Right.
like, yo, is this like, who's this? And I'm like, no, it's her. Like, oh my God, like this sounds like something that was done like in 1910 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, no, we just did it on our phone, like on your phone. And then we started calling them phone demos because they were like demos that were
Mm-hmm.
done on a
Yeah,
phone.
yeah.
And I just started thinking outside the box. Like, this is kind of a cool way of like maybe showing people your journey. Like,
Hmm.
you can show them this is how you created
Nice.
and
Yeah.
wrote the song, and then show them the finished version that actually makes the album. So we took like four of those songs and put it on a put it out. It's called the phone demos. And the whole concept was like, well, how do I make this people care about this artist and cut through? So, I made a deal with Nokia. I, pitched Nokia the idea of like, hey, we created this record on a phone, and like it'd be dope to like, do some sort of partnership. So they loved the songs, they loved what the artist was about, and we did a campaign together where they bought advertising in a music
That's cool.
magazine, and we gave away these new Nokia phones,
Yeah, yeah.
and it gave us attention on the new project, and it was a win-win scenario. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And yes, a lot of people are like, oh, how do you do that? Like, how did that happen? Yes, I had relationships.
Of
That's
course.
what managers have. Like,
Yeah.
if you're with somebody, it has to be somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. If you don't know somebody, then you need to have somebody who has the tenacity to find somebody. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's just me. Like, that's back to the hustler
Yeah.
mentality, is
Yeah.
like, you want to have somebody who's going to not really take no's for an answer
Right,
and
right.
kick down doors.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was with that one. So just sharing, like, I guess, a little element of like, marketing and just thinking outside the
Yeah.
box,
Yeah.
you know,
And what that might look is different for everybody, and that's
100%.
and that's where the creative side of things. I think artists who are more of the creative mindset of writing and music and stuff like that, they should tap into the creative side of marketing, because
Yeah.
there's like, guys, listen, if you're a creative person, it only takes a little bit to get a hold of somebody's heart and their mind by letting them in to what you're doing, like being authentic, starting out from like that. I love that idea of the phone demo, is like you're journeying with your fans,
Yes.
so they're coming into your experiences, and then they get to be a super fan,
Well,
what I'm
that's what
saying.
actually that's what I love about TikTok right now. Like, I
Mm.
think like it's some people don't like it for many different reasons, but I see a lot of like creativity there. Like, people really have to stretch because there's so many people doing it.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
like when somebody actually does stick out, it's like they stick out. Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool. I ain't nobody
yeah,
done that before.
yeah.
Or that's a different way of doing it. Or, you
Right.
know what I mean? That's a different concept. And I think what's great about music is the song and the storytelling is usually aligned to something very
Hmm.
unique to them. So if you can take that and put it into the content that you're creating or into the marketing or
Hmm.
however you're doing it, that's what's going to separate you and make it branch out to larger
Yeah.
audiences.
I see, Darren, you're nodding your head. So, you have anything you want to comment?
No, I just David David is hitting it really right on the head. Good job,
All
man.
right. Yeah, excellent.
Thank you.
I think it's just so important that you know yourself well, and that you're letting people be just part of who you are. Like, people want to see who you are as a person. They don't just want to hear your songs, and you can do
Right.
that in
Yes,
so many ways
it's true.
nowadays. That really, if you're afraid to do that, you're probably not gonna get very, in all honesty, because there's so many. opportunities for that where they can really become super fans and really get to know you, that you really need to take advantage of that opportunity if you want to go somewhere. Let people into your soul. Let them see your heart
Mhm.
deeper.
That's right. And then the last, I was gonna just, I wanted to ask my big question at the end is if there's three things or two things or even one thing that we've said already or something that you'd like to say that was missed, but you feel it's really important that needs to be said. We'd like to just let you think about that. But I also want to say something before we go, guys, that it's important to think about social media and the presence that you have. As we talked about that last question, I was thinking through some of those things can seem daunting because the social media wants you to post like 4 or 5 a day. And it's just like, we don't have time for that. Some people want 15 a day. It just goes on and on and on. No, I know it's hard to think about things about your music and you're trying to say, I'm singing a song, I'm saying, and I sing a song and people just tune out. But also that, what Darren was talking about, that people wanted to get to know you. So we did some videos. We interviewed some other people in marketing and some of our past videos, and one of the things that came up was really something I thought was really ingenious. Do something that you like to do and see if your audience wants to do, like for instance, maybe you like to bake cakes, maybe you like to cook, and you just invite them into your kitchen and you say, hey, I'm cooking some of this today, you like some, and let them know who you are. Maybe you're out walking your dog and say, this is my dog, this is Phoebe, but whatever you want to call your dog. And so there's opportunities to just share your life and let people just kind of get involved in that. And it doesn't have to be anything that's hard. It doesn't have to be anything pre-calculated or written out or scripted. It's just something that, no, you just like just hanging out with your fans or potential fans. That's the way I like to look at it. Anyway, so something that you guys might think about that has been left unsaid or something that's been said, you just want to reiterate. Go ahead, Darren.
I think here's the thing. We can't sign everybody that comes to us. Remember that building that trust and building that relationship thing? I can't do that well if I'm signing every artist who sends me an email or every artist who sends me a message or a text. Sometimes when you think you're being rejected over and over again, you just haven't found the right opportunity. You haven't found the right person for you. You haven't found the right fit. um, that relationship will come, that trust will come, but we just can't sign everybody and do everything. And so, um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, responding repeatedly to that, and going on social media and saying, "Well, I've been trying to get this guy to sign me, and he won't do it." None of that. I mean, the reality of it is, we want to build relationships. We want to build trust. We want to help artists get to where they need to be doing what God has called them to do. We can't do that with everyone. Keep looking, keep trying, keep working at it.
Mm-hmm. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't work out. Keep going. You may find that right person one day. Yeah.
Um, I guess my last comment would just be around since we're here talking about managers and business, is that it is a business. I just want to kind of
Mhm.
really remind people, like, I don't know if I'm wrong for feeling this way or thinking this way, but I feel like it's probably a really hard space in gospel, because I feel like it's maybe one of the only genres where I feel like rejoicing is just a natural thing. Like it just comes in the music, in your body, in the spirit of celebrating. You know what I mean? Where other genres, they almost are about hobby. They're either hobbies turned into businesses.
Mm.
It's like it's a different thing. And so I think it's really easy to be in a space of gospel and enjoying music and giving. But then when you have to realize that, okay, I want to make this a business, I want to make this like a living, just realize what the business that you're getting yourself into. The music business is definitely um, has a history of not being playing fair. I guess you could say.
Yes, yes.
There's a lot of sharks in the
Say no more.
pond, in the
Mhm.
sea. There's a lot of obstacles,
Yeah.
a lot of doors, a lot of hard challenges of going up a hill, just a lot of things that can eat at your spirit
Mm.
and eat at your soul.
Yeah.
And so, if this is something you really truly want to do, you really have to say to yourself, this is like like by all means necessary, and dig deep and say, this is, I'm willing for that journey. Like I'm willing to take that road because it's not easy,
Yeah.
and it's okay if that road comes to an end.
Hmm.
You know, I've run into
Wow.
artists that have been doing this for a long time that had to say, you know what, I've done this for 10, 15 years. I haven't gotten to where I want to be,
Mm.
but it's okay. I've had a great journey getting there. Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I say that to make sure that people are in the right spirit and headspace, because the music industry is so challenging and hard to make a living
Yeah.
that it can have a mental effects on
Yeah.
us that hurt us as people. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm,
saying?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I have to remind us that of that. You know?
Yeah. It brings a whole new meaning to starving artists.
Yes.
Uh, So I just want to thank you both, David and Darren. Thank you so much for being here. I've had an incredible time. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed this at home or wherever you're watching this right now. And if you have the time to make a comment in this video, please do ask a question. Say hi to these guys. We'll make sure they get the message. And I want to let you know about David Clickcox. It's CLKCreativeWorks.com.
Yep.
Yeah, you can check that out and find out more about him. And you can also go to Be Loud Legacy, no, Agency, BeLoudAgency.com and find out more about what
Yep.
Darren Anderson's all about. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in. GMIHub.ca, just throw another website at you, is where you can go to find out more about us. And I always want to take some time to thank some of the people. We got upcoming a hub event later on um, in July 1, but I want you to tell about that in a minute. I'm getting kind of mixed up here because GMI Hub is so proud to sponsor an event coming up called Let the Church Sing. It's going to be amazing, led by Stephen Lewis and friends. It's a live recording involving singing hymns and choruses, and the audience will be the choir. That's right. On May 31st, 7:30, it's going to be put together. So make sure you put that on your calendar, and it's something you want to be a part of. It's Progress Avenue up in Scarborough. It's 869 Progress Avenue. So it's somewhere you want to be at 7:30. It's going to be amazing. They're going to have hymn sing and choruses, and you can be a part of that. And they're going to record it as well, so you can be in the recording. Make that part of that week, May 31st. Also, for June 3rd, we'll be presenting another live studio broadcast just like this. It's called Gold Setting for the Creative. So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be fun. We're going to have Allison and Gerald Fleming here. They're singer-songwriters, and they have they have a group called Infinitely More, and it's they're also one of our previous videos. If you want to check out our showcase, they're actually singing on there. As you can find out more about what they do, and you can actually join us. That'd be great to hang out with us here in the studio, 3434 Cawthra Road at Mississauga City Baptist Church. We are here right now, and so maybe next time we broadcast from here on June 3rd, you can be with us. I would love to see you here. You can chat with us in person. Wouldn't it be cool? That'd be cool. Okay. Also, my biggest freak is awesome coming up is Canada Day. It's called Hubfest, the very first Hubfest. That's right. We're putting this together on Canada Day from 1 p.m. till 10 p.m. at night. It's going to be great. We got live artists. It's going to be incredible. We're right here, 3434 Cawthra Road in Mississauga. You don't want to miss that. So, and I also want to take some time to thank all our partners and our Mississauga our sponsors here. This church has been amazing to us, and we're just grateful for them. So you're going to see as we leave some of our sponsors. So make sure you take advantage of looking into them. And I want to say thank you for joining us. It's been great to have you guys.
Thank
And
you.
great to have you guys. Thank you much, Darren and
You've
David.
been awesome. Thank you.
Yes. And Cheryl, I hope you're feeling better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will have a voice in the next show.
I hope so, because that would be. Sorry, I'm making fun of her. All right, so I'll talk to you guys next time. Join us here on GMI Hub online.
Bye.
Bye.